So as our agenda today, our goals are really simple. We just want to give you a quick overview of who Boardable is and not spend too much time on that because we really want to be able to meet our speakers and do a conversation about AI today and talk more about that and how you all are either trying to incorporate it into your organization or how we can help you get those first steps in being able to do that. So by the end, we're hoping to answer some of your questions about AI, give you some real world examples and some practical tips on how you can utilize that and unlock the potential for your nonprofit. And then as always, we like to wrap these up with a little sneak peek at what's coming up at Boardable, which is always super exciting, one of my favorite parts. Just some housekeeping. Yes, absolutely use the chat. We love seeing the conversation happening there. But if you have a question, if you could, on the bottom right of your screen, there's a questions tab there. If you could click on that for us and just add your questions, it's a little bit easier for us to track and just make sure we're hitting everything. That way, it's just a little bit more organized. But again, we love to see the chat being active as well. So really quickly, for those of you that are joining who may not be familiar with Boardable, I just wanted to give you a really quick overview. Our goal is to remove the friction that nonprofits typically have around board management so that their organizations can really focus on what's most important, which is their mission and what they're passionate about. So we are proud to support over 2,000 organizations, 300,000 board members, and across more than 140 countries. So one thing that we wanted to touch on before we really dive into the conversation is a little bit more about Boardable's stand on AI specifically. So obviously, this is something that's not going away. I feel like we've just been hearing more and more about it over the last several weeks, months, even for a year or more. So we do feel like Boardable AI can empower nonprofits, but really it does not and should not replace the human element that's so essential to the work that you all are doing day to day. And that's really what we feel like is most important. So our AI features like Boardable Assistant and Boardable Consultant will help you automate tasks and offer real-time insights and reduce workloads. But it really all comes down to allowing you to be able to focus more on what matters most to your organization. So we are really mindful of privacy and making sure that there's always kind of a choice at the core of AI. We do try and bring it to you in a way that just helps you do your jobs better and more efficiently so that you can really focus on those, on your mission and on your goals. So one thing that I really wanted to share with you today is that we have a lot of practical examples that we'll be bringing to you about how to utilize AI. We'll get into those with our speakers, but we're delighted to have two industry experts joining us today to really be able to help us dive into AI and better understand its role in the nonprofit community, and then specifically how it can help your nonprofit organization should you choose to delve into AI further. So without further ado, I have a quick introduction on both of these people, but it was very hard to be brief here because their backgrounds are exceptional. So first of all, I will start with Courtney. She's an advanced strategist and founder of The House 1922. She's dedicated to supporting mission-driven individuals and organizations. She has a decade of experience and more with development, board governance, and as an executive director. She's consulted with hundreds of clients across North America. She's really known for her authenticity and her very practical solutions that help empower her clients to make confident decisions and drive impactful change that leaves a lasting positive influence on their industries and communities. So we're so delighted to have you, Courtney. Thank you for joining us today. And then we additionally have Cody Sharp with us. He is a web design and digital marketing expert with nearly 2 decades of experience specializing in helping nonprofits. So he founded Sharp Guys Web Design in 2011. His company has partnered with over 250 clients, creating custom websites. Cody is Google Analytics certified, and has collaborated with very prominent Indiana nonprofits like New Hope of Indiana and the 500 Festival. He believes AI can be a game changer for nonprofits and has already spent over 1,000 hours in mastering tools like ChatGPT. So these two people are here today to help us just understand AI better with their exceptional expertise. And we're so grateful for both of you joining us today.
Thanks, LaVon. I'm super excited to be here.
You're so kind. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute and we're going to get into it. So if both of you are just whoever wants to answer first, go for it. We'll just make this as casual as possible. Folks, as a reminder, if you have any questions, be sure to share them in that questions tab at the bottom right hand of your screen. That would be incredibly helpful as we chat through these. But the first one we're going to ask, we're just going to get right to it. How do you think about or consider potential security/privacy risks with using AI? Because I feel like this is everyone's, like, they're curious about it, but they can't quite get past some of these difficult questions.
Yeah, Courtney, you want to start on that one? Or you want?
You got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, I think of the security and the privacy aspect as one of the most critical questions, right? Not only for, businesses that are trying to protect their proprietary information, but for nonprofits as well, that a lot of times are dealing with, maybe it's health information, it's private details about people that need help. They're helping so many different types of folks. So this is something important. And in the most basic way, if you really think about it, and a lot of times people talk about this nowadays, like if the product is free, right, then you are the product. And the same thing is true with a lot of these different AI products that are out there. So if you don't have a relationship where you're paying them something, if it's free, then probably what they're doing is they're taking that content and they're going to use it to train their data set so it's better in the future. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to show your data typically. They're not even keeping it in the same way. The way that these AIs are created is a kind of a black box where they don't actually even know how the content is all connected. It's created through these pathways, but it does mean that there are certain products and certain levels of those or certain tiers of those products where they tell us for certain, we're not going to use your data for training. We're not going to use it. We're not going to keep it. And those are the ones that, you can probably feel a little bit more comfortable with. Doesn't mean there won't be some kind of weird data breach, just like there is with social security numbers. I mean, there's this huge data breach. There's nothing can be done about that. But it does mean at the very least, we have a little bit of knowledge. That's where I usually come from, is pay for it a little bit. And, and then you can feel a little bit more comfortable with the data that you're putting in.
It's just getting harder and harder to protect some of our information, right? Sometimes, but there are ways for us to be careful. Courtney, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I would say for myself and those that I, work with and support, common sense, I don't put anything into the system where I have to wonder, should I put this into the system? And as we talk about, using AI as a tool, it's not a crutch. And I can't think of an instance even where I would encourage somebody to upload that important information. And I'm sure we'll dive more into other practical uses for AI and how you can use it in a way that is beneficial without breaking any privacy, laws, or, if you are in that healthcare space or something like that, and you've got to worry about that. But my thing is, if I have to ask, I'm not doing it.
Yes, I appreciate the simplicity of that. If there's a question, just kind of use that intuition, that common sense. Probably best not to share it, but definitely still ways that it can be utilized safely. With that being said, what are some key reasons that you think nonprofits should consider adopting AI? How do you think it can be most helpful to them?
So There's so many ways, but
I know,
so
I'm asking kind of a big question.
So I'll give a very, very, very basic example, right? So email communications. When I send an email, I oftentimes I'm a very blunt 2 sentence type of gal, right? Like, and that can be off-putting to certain people, and especially when you're dealing with donors or something like that. So I can take my blunt 2 sentence email, throw it into ChatGPT and be like, make this sound nicer or more professional or whatever. Also, and vice versa, if I need something condensed, and especially if I'm communicating with donors, and I know that they prefer to receive information that is more bulleted and concise and condensed, I can tell ChatGPT, hey, take this email, take it down to 250 characters for me, please. So using it that way. Also, like, as a backup source for like research and data, like to pull that in and to compare to other research that I've done, as a tool, not as a crutch, but to compare different things like that. The other thing is, and then I'll stop, I'm sorry. Sometimes I just get writer's block. And so I come from the world of development, and, and when it's grant writing season, I mean, like, it is go time, right? And so it's hours upon hours upon hours of writing. And so I may need inspiration. So I can ask ChatGPT, like, give me inspiration, like, here, because I'm just stuck. And so it's like almost having a thought partner bestie right there with me. So
No. I love that example. And I completely agree. It's so nice to be able to kind of get a starting point when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm looking at another blank screen. Like, where am I going to start? AI can help you do that. I completely agree. And same with the brevity. Sometimes I'll put in this, like, okay, here's my 3 paragraphs. Let's scale that back to bullet points, please, because no one's going to read it.
Yeah.
Cody, anything you'd add there?
Yeah, I love the exact reasons that Courtney gave. I think that for most nonprofits, they're all dealing with resource allocation, right? And there's limited resources, just like there is for any organization. But for the nonprofit sector, it's even more strenuous. You have maybe volunteers helping you out, and you have a smaller staff. A lot of for-profits of the same size may have 5 marketers, and you have 1, and you have to do so many things. And, it could be things like exactly like Courtney's talking about, is expand this or shorten it. You can also say, hey, I'm going to send out this email to somebody that's really important. Check my tone. Does this sound like, what would a person that is like this, and think about what that person's like, think of this email and ask it, because it's really good at understanding tone. That's what AI can be used for. So I would say, like, resource increases, like, across the board in a lot of different ways, really making your weight able to just, like, expand it and really make a bigger impact for your mission. So that's what I would say. Like, if you have a reason to consider it, that's the biggest reason. Do you need more manpower? If so, it's a good reason to go forward with it.
Totally agree. Yes. Take off one of those hats, pass it over to AI for just half a second. And then, but we did get an interesting question. So I'll be curious for both of your input here. So one of them is, who owns that content? So what are the things to consider around copyright or plagiarism, like things like that? What do we need to be aware of there, or educate ourselves on even more around that?
Yeah, I'll just start with what I know. And Courtney, you'll probably have some other ideas, but this is actually something you can use ChatGPT for. All of these different companies have different terms and conditions about how this works. Typically, you own your own content, but we do remember that if it's a free version of it that you're using, that they may use that content to train the model going forward. And so it still has ownership, but your ideas and thoughts, if they're unique to you, they may come out again in the future for somebody else. And, in the nonprofits, most things are fairly open. We're trying to, like, have an open community, but it is important to kind of keep that in mind. And then the other thing is, where you can actually use ChatGPT, go to their terms and conditions and ask them, who owns this content based on these terms and conditions? It does a great job kind of analyzing legalese And it's not a lawyer, but at least it kind of gives you a leg up over just like the not, mind numbing terms and conditions for all these companies. So
a starting point for sure. We keep saying that, but it really is like, give me the bullet pointed version of this, 13-page TNC document completely.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else you'd add, Courtney?
I mean, yes, that.
Okay, perfect.
No, amen. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm also really transparent with people when I use AI,
Yes.
and I'll let people know. But we do have that inside of our terms and conditions, like when we do use it.
Mm-hmm.
But for blog writing specifically, I've been able to use some SEO research tools that will help me generate different topics to blog about and rank like the difficulty of it and whatnot, so that I can help expand our reach, out that way. So that doesn't answer the privacy part or the ownership part, but then it can give me an outline. But if I use that outline and I create my own content, well, these are my words and these are my thoughts. So I use this wonderful tool to help guide me.
Yep.
And that's that.
Yeah. And I like how you mentioned kind of being transparent about that, making sure that it's out there and known, like, yeah, we created the outline from this, but these are our own thoughts and opinions on this specific topic. That's one way to go about that. So kind of leaning into this a little bit more, we kind of touched on this previously with adopting AI. What are some tips and examples of how to coach it up front to make it quicker and understanding like tone and voice and things like that? So that part is already out of the way.
Go ahead, Cody. I know you're. Got it. I know he's pumped. I'll come in behind him.
Yeah. So, as far as like coaching it up, I mean, let's say you're using ChatGPT. There's a lot of different tools, and I don't know how much you want to talk about. Another big one is by Anthropic, which is kind of an ownership stake by Amazon, and it's called Claude AI. Then there's another one, Gemini is Google's product. Then there's Meta, all of these different ones, right? And most of them have the same kind of idea that it has a memory, right, for what you've asked it before. And you can start a new dialogue with it, and you can coach it up by saying, here's what we are. And you take your about and you throw it in there, your mission statement. Here's what we are. And then take one of your emails that you've written to somebody recently and say, these are the tone of voice that I use when I write to somebody, because that's important, right? The tone in general, you want to have similarities between the way that you write your blogs and the way that you do things. And then from there, it's a foundational effort. Some of them, like if you're on the pro version of ChatGPT, you can actually say, this is my organization's voice, train it. And so any type of content that you create will utilize that voice going forward. So a lot of different options there. It can be time consuming to go through them all, but just know that it is possible, and it does save a lot of time and effort. So you don't have to go and do that for every single prompt. Yeah. Courtney, you probably have other ideas.
Well, and I'll even go outside of ChatGPT. If you go into Canva, and you inside of your brand kit now, they have a space where you can insert your brand voice. And this is why when I work with our marketing clients, I always I demand, you have to have brand guidelines. Inside of those guidelines, you define your tone and you define your voice. And then so when it comes to building out your ChatGPT voice, I mean, it's all you have a document that's right there. And I love having that document because I can send that. So if I hire Cody to build me out a website, I can send him my guidelines, boom. And then it's all right there. And he's a human, but I can do the same thing also with any of the ChatGPTs, the Canvas. I use Grammarly. I am the queen of typos. But now they have an AI feature. And they'll make suggestions as I go. I haven't messed around with it too much yet because I'm like, look, just fix my grammar.
Just let me know where the typos are.
One step at a time, Grammarly. But it also learns your voice.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing I'll say, and this is just kind of a fun one. I was sending emails and I wasn't sure if my team was actually reading them. So I told ChatGPT to rewrite my email in the voice of Moira Rose.
Oh, interesting.
And I sent it
Love
out.
that. That's
And I
awesome.
was like, did you guys read my email? And they didn't. Like, they didn't. I was like, if you're ready to be cracking up right now, like, because I'm like actually quite hilarious, I think. But so yeah, you can literally train it to any voice that you want to. You said, Cody, it can be time consuming.
Mhm.
What's more time consuming is getting content that doesn't speak to your voice, and you have to rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it. So take that 30 minutes to the side, get your guidelines out, define what your tone of your voice is, and then implement it.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love
I
that.
totally agree. These are great examples, and I like how one person put it in the chat where they like to think of AI as an actor, and they're their director, and they're trying to give them as much prep ahead of time so it takes as few takes, right? Like, okay, let's get this in one take.
Yeah, I always heard Stanley Kubrick was like 90 takes or something. We don't want to be on that side. We want to be the exact opposite way. We don't have time for 90 takes.
Yeah, I'm not down to one take yet, but I'm getting there. I'm trying to be better at my prompting. Yeah, so that's helpful. So another question, I know we've kind of talked about some specifics of how you can use AI, but two of the really challenges for nonprofits, I would say, just because it's they are just these monster things, fundraising and grant writing. Courtney, you kind of spoke to this a little bit. How are some like practical ways that AI can help with both of those things, knowing that they're just these bearers of challenges for them?
So again, my development friends, right? Like that's where I come from. And I love it more than anything. AI has been a great tool for me. I talked about the communication styles earlier. One of the things that we do as well is we're certified DISC practitioners, which is just communication styles if you're not familiar. So when I'm talking to a donor who is a certain communication style, very similar to what you were saying earlier, I believe, Levon, speaking to a certain person, or Cody maybe, on getting that tone down. Okay, so I can tell, okay, I need to send this email out. Rewrite this version that I've already created. One for a style D, one for style I, one for style S, one for style C. And then boom, there it is. So because when we're communicating with our donors, if you're not speaking at a level where they can receive the information, you're not going to secure the deal. I myself, like I said, I'm a C. I communicate that way. And I like simplified bulleted information. I need the facts. I need the data, and what is going to be the end outcome. And you got about 5 minutes tops with me, right? However, if I'm talking to somebody that's an S and they want to take me to lunch, and I'm on a capital campaign, they want to take me to lunch and have this long, elaborate, they want the storytelling side of things. I can adapt that way. So as it was so nicely put, then ChatGPT becomes my actor and helps. And I mean, I'm directing it like, okay, now we've got to go talk to this donor for this. So there's that. As far as the grant writing, I think that's a slippery slope.
Sure.
And it's just one of those things that's one of those where I was like, if I have to ask, then I just don't do it. I may ask for a generalized outline. Hey, help me summarize these thoughts, or help me outline this program. If you're building out something new, or how can I best present this? And I keep it kind of vague on that side, because when I am writing a grant proposal, I need it to be authentic and come from me, and they also have ways of telling.
Sure.
They absolutely have ways of telling. So I just err on the side of caution and just use it as, like I said, my bestie to help me navigate how I can communicate with certain people. It all comes down to communication.
That's helpful.
Yeah, as far as I have not personally written grants, but I do know we have a couple of clients that have went after grants, and we've done some research in the past. I remember looking at National Endowment of the Arts, right? They have a bunch of different grants that they offer throughout the year. They're all government grants and stuff like this. And they had said that it takes 25 hours on average to apply for one of their grants, something like that. It was like 25, 30 hours, something like that. And I was just, What I think that maybe ChatGPT can do is kind of cut through and filter out some grants that are not a good fit for you, because they've sucked up all those grants that are out there on the web, right? And they actually even have a newer version, or you can look at Gemini, which is, built in with Google, and say, this is what my organization does. What grants may be a good fit for me? And maybe we'll cut down on some of the research time, and then cut down on some of the different types of grants that just have extenuating circumstances that doesn't make it a good fit. I feel more confident talking about the fundraising side. And that's one area that I think you can go back to and look at some of the certain tactics that work for fundraising. For some of our nonprofits, for example, the main things that they're doing for fundraising efforts depends on their demographic. If it's younger, then typically social media is going to be the way that gets people to convert into a donor for the first time. And so they're telling stories, and you can have ChatGPT does a great job coming up with different ideas for how to post that kind of thing. And again, it's kind of more, I don't necessarily want it to just write that stuff for me wholesale, but I want it to at least give me some different ideas of the types of stories we may want to tell about our organization based on who we help. And so then we can go out and ask our staff, hey, do you have a story like this? Or do you have like that? Or do we have imagery for this? And you can even ask ChatGPT, what kind of imagery should I use for these types of stories? And it can come up with like ideas for imagery. It's insane. But ChatGPT isn't alone in this. Another tool, and I mentioned it here, and you may or may not have good success depending on the type of the organization you are, but Midjourney is an image creation tool that I've also worked with for a lot of time. And some organizations in the nonprofit sector are dealing with things that they can't show people's faces, their true faces, who they are. Maybe it's children, maybe it's people that you just don't have the ability to take pictures of for whatever privacy reasons. Midjourney is pretty good at creating people that look like they're in the scenarios that you have. Of course, you got to worry about some of the fingers and the teeth and stuff like that. And maybe you don't feel comfortable even showing people that aren't true, but it's better to show, I think, faux people than it is to show real people without their permission, right? And so, and you're still trying to convey the message. And the story that you're going to tell should still be an impactful, true story. Never, obviously, never, and no one would, but never use it to fabricate a story. But if you can find imagery or create imagery that looks aesthetically, that goes along with the story, and then mention within your story, these are not real people. Just like people use pseudonyms for George and Alice when their real names are something else, right? I think you can use imagery in that way to convey that this is the story, this is what I'm telling, because imagery, especially for social, is so helpful in getting people to click and then get shared more often. Just some different ideas.
Yeah, I love those ideas, and I think that's an interesting perspective. And if you didn't catch that, the tool that he mentioned was Midjourney. And I forgot to mention this at the top, but this session will be recorded, and it'll go out immediately after the session ends. But we'll also send a follow-up email with the resources and tools that they're mentioning here so that you can come back and reference those. I know when you're trying to listen and take notes, that can be kind of a lot. So we'll have some things in place to help you. But on that note, I know you mentioned Midjourney. I feel like we've talked about Canva and Grammarly and all these. Are there any other AI tools outside of those that you all would mention that you think could be helpful to at least take a look at? And in that same vein, I think we can attach this to another important question that came through from one of our attendees. Is obviously these are nonprofits. We're looking for cost-effective solutions. When do you recommend a paid version versus being able to use the free version? Is there some benefits or some benefits to using the paid version?
Yeah, I'll just jump in on the paid version question. And I'll just say, kind of going back to the beginning, so if you came in a little later, anytime you're paying for something, you're less likely to be the product yourself. So if you're creating content and you don't want the tool to train itself to be better as an AI tool based on your own data or your company's data or your organization's data, the paid versions typically, so like ChatGPT has a $20 a month level, that still will use all the content that you put in to train their model and make it better. But if you go to the enterprise level or to the team level, and I think it's a minimum of 2, so basically you're looking at like $60 a month, it won't train using your data anymore. So that's the kind of scenario that you just kind of have to weigh that. Let's say though that you're just asking it things about your website or something. Is anything you're going to say going to impact that content going forward? Probably not, right? As long as you're training, and I think it goes back to what you said, Courtney, just using common sense for things that are just like, would I ask somebody that's a stranger a question like this, or is that too personal? If that's the case, use, a paid version at a higher tier. If it's something that you could ask in an open office as loud as you can, then why not? You're not going to hurt anything probably.
And again, excuse my developmentness coming out, but I'm going to say again, like, email these people, tell them you are a 501c3 nonprofit, and ask them about their discounts. A tool that we use in our organization is Notion. I don't know if anybody else uses Notion, but they have a really robust AI feature within it, and Notion has a major discount for nonprofits. We all know, Canva, you can get a free Canva account. And I love to ask. And I guess, maybe that's why it's good in development, because I'm not afraid to ask. But send the email, hey, we need this tool. We are restricted in our funds, but we see the benefit of this. Is there any way that you can help us out? Or ask one of your board members to sponsor it for you, and look at what you're going to receive by having access to this. And I would present it that way. So if anybody needs help with that conversation, let me know, because I love talking to boards.
That's so helpful. It never hurts to ask, right? We at least have to ask. Okay, I would love if there's anyone in the chat that has other tools that they've explored that are AI focused. I'd love for you to share them. It could potentially be something beneficial to someone else too. So feel free to add that in there. For our panelists, next question. So another thing we hear a lot, kind of to your point, is this concept of board member engagement, trying to just, engage them in your mission, but also in helping you with all the million things that you have to do. What are some ways that you might be able to use AI to help boost that engagement a little bit? Are there any thoughts that come to mind in doing that?
Courtney, I'll let you take that.
I know.
I feel like that's up your alley for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we go back to this actor-director role, and I'm big on prompts. So something that I'm sending a link over to Levon so that you guys can access this link, and then I will send everything out. But are these prompts? And so, you can put yourself in the board's shoes. So you can say you are a board member of a nonprofit of 100 years, super, super experienced, right? And then ask your question. I also like to ask for options within ChatGPT. So it'll be hey, I am a nonprofit. I am an executive director of a nonprofit. I am struggling to get my board involved. Please provide me 10 to 15 solutions to involve my board. And you can put even, what kind of organization you're with or something like that. But I think that did I answer the question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Literally that, getting that outside perspective.
Yeah. I think it goes back to, it's your bestie, right? Bounce some ideas off of it, use it to brainstorm something that you haven't, thought of maybe, or a new spin on something that you could potentially try out. I think that answered it perfectly.
Cool.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add, a lot of times I'll talk to people and they still really haven't even used AI. I sometimes I get in the weeds and I think, everyone's really used it a lot. And so when they do try it for the first time, they treat it like Google, right? Where they ask something that they think there's already information for, but you really can talk to it. Sometimes I talk to people like Star Trek, even if you didn't watch it, how you can talk to the computer, right? Computer, do this, do this, do this. You just tell it things and then it comes up with ideas. Well, that's basically how AI works. You just tell it, hey, why don't you come up with some ideas for this? And so that's what Courtney said. I don't know as much about that board side. And that's exactly what I would do. It's I don't know how to do this, but please help me do this. How do I do this? And so I think that's it. That's perfect.
Perfect. I won't tease you too much about using a Star Trek reference, but
I can't
okay.
get
Just kidding. Okay, so I think we have time for maybe one more question before we dive back into the PowerPoint, just to be able to kind of talk roadmap and things like that. But is there anything we missed about it, like in this conversation, that you feel is really important for these people to know as they're considering AI? What's a use case that they might consider for their organization? Tell me, what did we miss?
Well, like coming into this, I wanted to kind of see if there had already been some like use cases by some of the big like organizations out there, right? I found this one, it was insane. The American Cancer Association, so huge, right? But they were able to, what they did is they're using some big system, tons of donors and all this stuff, but some big system, and it's using AI, is it basically segmented historical data, and it said, how did these people end up donating when they were connected to us in a certain way? So it was like social media and stuff like that, and then find those ways for us to easily connect with them again in our future campaigns that we send out. They got a 400% increase in conversion rate by doing basically not just a segmentation, but like, how do other people like these people like to be connected? And so like some prognostication. That's a big example. Here in Indiana, we've got the Riley Children's Hospital, 700,000 users. They use Salesforce for nonprofits, a similar kind of thing. They asked it, hey, we have major donors that are $10,000 and up, but it takes us a long time to get to that point. How can we use the data that we have in our database to cut that time and reduce it and still impact people? And they cut it by 50%. 50% of the time that it took to get somebody to the $10,000 get donor level, just by using AI and asking it a bunch of different questions to get those types of bits of information. At the nonprofit level, at the small nonprofit level, I personally have been part of a lot of different organizations here in Indiana, but also throughout the nation, where, we just start using different subject lines on email newsletters, and we do segmented testing, and we have AI ask, which one should we use? And we'll test out, we'll do split testing, A/B testing, and we'll pick winners. But those AI subject lines, without the subject line getting people into the email, no one ever sees any of your content or your ask. And the same thing is true for any of the print mail that you're taking out and sending out the door too. So use AI in that way. And even if you're a smaller nonprofit without the resources of an ACA or something like that, you can still have a huge impact. So that's just what I would say.
Yeah. And I mean, just echoing that, like, absolutely. Amen. Yes. But a big thing, like, and I think the biggest thing that we can take away from this conversation is, like, don't overcomplicate this. And so, like I said, I'm going to provide some prompts, and I'm just going to, I did pull a few and I'll put it in the chat. Here's two very, very simple ones. So develop a template for an intellectual property policy. So say you need to create that, you're like, oh, we need to create this like on the fly, but we don't know anything about this. And so you can tell it, what to do. Another one, craft a compelling video script that tells a powerful story of impact and resonates with my viewers' emotions. Like really, really practical, easy things that you can do. You don't have to overthink it. But having that video script, I don't know about you, but I've never made a video or a movie or anything like that. I don't know how to write a script. But to again, like I said, to have that outline, really simple stuff too, like social media. My daughter, God, y'all help me, because my daughter, she'll be 18 on Sunday. And she told me that the emoji, I'll put it in the chat too. The emoji that's like the laughing, crying, it's not even coming up like in the search. It's the original emoji where it's just like they're like smiling and tears coming down. And my daughter told me, like, that's so like cringe. Like,
oh no.
She's like, you can't use that, Mom. Like, that emoji does not eat. And I was like, it doesn't eat. I was like, emojis eat now. So anyway, I can't. But for social media, I don't I struggle with our posts and like sometimes like that added support. So here's what I'm trying to talk about. Create an engaging social media post. direct
Right.
people to the link in my bio to do A, B, and C. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I tweak because I have my voice that I like, but it helps give me the outline.
Yes, yes. We definitely have some people sympathizing with the teenagers. It's a whole different, yes, you're not wrong though. Any help to kind of help with that social media and staying relevant, it seems like, because I use that emoji quite a bit. So I'm clearly
Not anymore.
with
Not
that
if you
age
with young
group.
ones.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, thank you both so much for the insight today. This has been really great. I would love if you both wanted to just highlight anything that you're working on or you're really passionate about, to just give you a quick 30 seconds to talk through that. Feel free.
You can go first, Cody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one of our nonprofit clients. I love talking about those guys. About 30% of our clients over the last couple of years have been nonprofits, and the rest are for-profits. But this one specifically, they help. It's called Water for Good. It's here based in Indiana, but they do work in Central African Republic. They merged together with this organization called Life Water. Both of their organizations are about 8 million in revenue, and donations are a big part of that. But we're redoing their website right now, and so it's coming together really well, and it's been super exciting. So we're going to be having that come out later on this year. But kind of going through one of these processes where you're merging these big organizations together, and there's so many moving parts. This is somewhere where, AI has kind of given me some different ideas that I can go to them with as we go through this process and say, have you thought about doing this, or have you thought about doing this? Because they haven't gone through this migration process before of moving these things together either. So that's been really good. Yeah, I'm excited about that project.
I love that.
So thank you, first of all, and thank you for everybody that's here. And like I always say, like, thank you guys for your servitude, because the work that we do, like, we wouldn't do it if we weren't a little bit crazy, I think. But I know for me personally, there's nothing else that I would rather do. And I have held, basic level, like on the ground, like as a basic employee, worked my way up in development. Like I said, I love my development people, operations, organizational overhauls, became an executive director, not by choice, but because that's where I was positioned. And I've consulted with different organizations across the United States and a few in Canada. So I guess I can say we're international, right? I think we can say that. But I say that to say is that there are common themes. There are common themes that I notice inside of these organizations. And you guys, if you're a founder, if we have any founders here, your guys' organizations are born out of passion because you care. And so something that we're doing, I mean, I am all about not gatekeeping and giving the resources away. So we have started the Impact Exchange. We do a lot of things within our organization. I can't niche down because when I go and I see a client, they need operational overhauls. They need development campaigns. They need their messaging clarified. They need all of these things. And so we'll never stop doing that. Hey, and good name, Courtney. Yes. And sales. Yes. Claim that. Yes. Sales. You get all that money, right? And we thank you like for what you do. And so we are on a mission to empower and equip as many people as possible. So the link that we're sending out, yes, I am providing all of my ChatGPT prompts that you guys can adapt to your specific needs. If there's anything that we can do to support you, especially if you're here locally in Indianapolis, we're actually doing an event coming up. Please sign up for the emails and get the information. But it's all about collaboration and not gatekeeping and providing our people that are doing the most work. You guys are the heroes. Everybody, you are heroes, real life heroes in somebody's world. So thank you for showing up and thank you. Like, shout out to you. Make sure you acknowledge yourself today and look yourself in the mirror and be like, yes, I am that one.
I love that.
So.
I love that. That's the boost I needed today. And I'm not even I'm feeling good. Let's do this. Thank you both so much. We really do appreciate it. As a reminder, I know we're coming up on time. We do want to jump back into a couple of slides to share with you what's coming up at Boardable. We will also send out the recording immediately after this. And then we'll send out another email providing a bunch of resources that we talked about today. So one thing I really quickly wanted to touch on is the AI resources. Boardable really is your partner in understanding AI and just making sure that we're giving practical and effective ways that you can utilize that. So a couple of things to be on the lookout for. We have a great blog post already up on our site about avoiding risks as you start to look into AI. And then we have our nonprofit consultant that'll be coming soon. And we're so excited to share this with you because this is a nonprofit trained AI consultant that you will be able to come and use as, your ChatGPT that's already trained and prepared specifically for nonprofits. So come in and ask questions that could help you use some of the prompts that Courtney is so graciously going to provide to us. And hopefully that'll be a really good resource for you. So then I'll pass it to Jenny so she can talk a little bit more about the upcoming roadmap.
Amazing. Thanks so much. I was just messaging with Courtney, and I feel like this all is really small compared to kind of the thanks and, just the idea that AI as a whole and just technology, like even in a broader sense, how it applies to nonprofits is really like an accelerant to allow you all to do more with less, which I know we're all doing every day, kind of in the nonprofit space. And so I think it's just a really good reiteration of where we are at Boardable and just our focus on the NPOs and nonprofit organizations at large and associations and all of that is that we understand that. And that's why we're building technology. And that's why we are investing on our team in AI is to really allow you, frankly, to, I don't want to say do more with less, but really just like do more. And we kind of, sometimes we get tired of saying it internally, but like do more for your mission. It's a phrase that we use a lot, and hopefully all of this work and this information does that for you. So really quick, I did see one note that was like, this is a really great meeting tool to use. I did just want to make sure that everybody that is a Boardable customer did know that today, if you're using Boardable Video, you actually do have the ability to turn on our AI transcription functionality, which allows you to transcribe your entire meeting and then get a really nice summary at the end of it. And so that's live today. And if you're not using that, I highly suggest you give that a try. We've taken privacy and security concerns to heart. So you do have to opt into that. So everything that we're doing AI-wise, you're choosing to leverage that AI. It's not being pushed on you. So that's super great and really would highly encourage you to do that. We use it for a lot of our internal meetings, and it's just so nice to know, like, okay, that was recorded. We have a transcript and we have all of the like meeting summary pieces already digested for us with that Boardable AI that's integrated into the product. Really excited about some more features that are coming. These features that have a little AI bubble next to them are all things that are being developed with AI in mind. And so we have an in-meeting assistant that'll just allow you to do more in the app. Our surveys and forms tool will have some AI components to it that's coming soon. And then we'll also be doing some more with Boardable Assistant in the future around post meetings and documents and just the ability to kind of organize those and call to those. And, we've talked about the more that you give certain AI tools and these generative AI tools in a safe and secure way, the better and quicker results you can get that are in the right tone, voice, brand, and all of that. So we're going to help you do that within the product and beyond. And the Boardable consultant, which we'll be sending out information around as well, is just a really great resource that we've already put kind of the best and brightest minds and like our content, and some of our great customers have provided content to really make that a kind of pre-trained chatbot that you can use for those day-to-day nonprofit coaching questions that you might have. So that was a lot. Sorry for talking so fast, but I am really excited about this topic, and I'm really thankful for our guest speakers today. I feel like we hit the right amount of detail, got everybody's like appetite going, and hopefully we can continue to provide these types of opportunities for you all to share amongst our customers and kind of get the outside perspective of how you can do more for your organization. So thanks so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that's it for us today. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you to our speakers. We really appreciate you. And just to echo Courtney, make sure you give yourself that affirmation today. You are doing the hard work and you are valued. So thank you so much to everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks all. It was so much fun.
Thanks, guys.